In the Yoruba tradition, Olofin means powerful god. He is the third manifestation of the god Olajimere. He is the one who has direct contact with men and the earth. He is the one who watches over, supervises, and guides human acts through the sacred spirits, the Orishas. For several generations, Olofin, the great god, gave all the Orishas gifts that would allow them to be more powerful and wise, and also allowed Obatala to create the earth and humans with the help of the other gods. For several years, the creation seemed to be a good option because during all that time no problem disturbed the gods. However, one day after Olofin descended to earth and visited the humans, he felt extremely ill and weak. Unfortunately, Olofin had contracted a serious illness, which even he could not cure himself, and it threatened to end his life. Several days passed and the god showed no improvement. His being felt more and more serious and fragile, so he decided to call the other Orishas to check on him. One of the gods was the one who passed the word of the terrible evil that the god of the heavens had. In addition, he replied to the sad message of the hopeless man, hoping that someone would save him and put an end to his suffering. When they arrived at the king's palace, they experienced the terrible delirium of Olofin, and outside the kingdom, all the Orishas gathered to see who could cure him, for he was fading away on his throne. After a few minutes, one by one they had to pass by to put their ache, gifts, and sacred powers in front of Olofin's illness in the hope of healing him. Thus Obatala, god of creation, entered the king's room. In his hands, he carried a beautiful white cloth that together with divine powers would clean the god to cure him. But his attempt was in vain because the sick man did not feel any improvement. Obatala, crestfallen, left the room and invited the next god to come in so that he could try. Orunmila, god of prophecies and divination, was the second to enter the room where the sick man was lying, and through potions, rituals, and prayers he tried to relieve him, but unfortunately, he did not succeed either. He still felt extremely ill. In this way, the gods continued to pass by Olofin's bed without being able to heal him. After Orunmila, followed Babalu, god of diseases, then Osain, god of nature, and so all the other wisest Orisha of the sky, sea, and earth passed by, but none of them succeeded in healing him. Faced with such a terrible situation, the desperate gods began to resign themselves. They entered together to Olofin's room, and with prayers, they waited for him to get better. Several minutes of silence later, a sound interrupted the anxiety. Someone was knocking at the door. Obatala went out to verify who it was. The god opened the door and saw the young Elegua with several objects in his hands, and said in a loud voice that he was looking for his turn to try to save the king. Elegua was the god of the roads, and unlike the other Orishas he was too young, so when they heard his request, they all mocked him and then ignored him, because they did not trust his gifts, and if none of them managed to cure him, they believed that he could not do it either. The gods began to take him out of the kingdom, but as weak as Olofin was, he raised his voice and ordered the others to let the boy pass. The god reprimanded the Orishas, for they had all had their chance and absolutely no one succeeded, so Elegua, too, had to have his chance, even if he did not succeed. At the king's words, everyone left the room and entrusted the sick man to the young Orisha. The boy took out of his bag a large bunch of fresh herbs that he had gathered in the forest, placed them on a table, then crushed them, added a little water, and mixed it for a few minutes. Olofin watched in silence all that Elegua was doing. He examined, but he did not understand what kind of concoction he was preparing, because not even he knew these plants. The young man took the potion, brought it close to the king's bed, and said confidently, "As soon as you finish drinking the concoction, you will be cured." Olofin drank the potion to the last drop, and just as the young god told him, as if by magic his ailments disappeared. Finally, he was cured. Extremely grateful, the king got out of bed and regained his strength in seconds, and surprised by the concoction, asked him how he had managed to cure him. So, Elegua told him that, for a while, he had been wandering in the woods, and being there all alone, he learned a lot about great plants, potions, and other things that helped him in his life. The king left the room with his head held high, full of vitality, as he had never been seen before. All the perplexed Orishas could not believe what they were witnessing, since no one had even managed to make him feel better. Olofin, raising the hand of the one who saved him, raised his voice and told them to recognize him as a wise man, the one they had labeled as an inexperienced and ignorant young man because he managed to cure him. To reward Elegua, Olofin decided that henceforth, the god would be the first Orisha to be honored in any type of ceremony, and gave him a beautiful golden key. Elegua, grateful for the king's recognition, took it with great humility, so the other Orishas accepted his order, showing gratitude. Years later, a married couple created by Obatala arrived at the temple of Olofin to request something very much desired for them. At that time, the earth and the sky were united, so the inhabitants could easily pass from one side to the other in a matter of minutes. The couple had come to heaven to the throne of Olofin, with the sole purpose of asking for the gift of reproduction. The young men were so excited to be the first to beget children by themselves. They wanted it with all their being that they dared to present themselves before the king. The supreme Orisha was disconcerted by the proposal of the lovers, so he told them very hesitantly that he would talk to the other deities to give them an answer because, at that precise moment, he did not know what to say before such an unexpected request. After several days and much insistence from the boys, Olofin finally agreed to give them the power to beget their first child. Regardless of the harsh condition, the parents accepted with great excitement, and after several months anxiously awaited the birth of the baby. So, when the great day of his birth arrived, the mother was fascinated, for at last she felt her dream come true, and as he grew up, his parents taught him all about the earth, the heavens, and the sea. However, from the time the child began to understand and walk, his behavior worsened, and he became excessively restless and spoiled. For several months, this caused many conflicts with the gods, but one day the child made a disastrous mistake, which unleashed a great catastrophe. One morning the little boy left his parents' arms and ran around all the neighboring houses, causing great disorder. Then he went to the edge of the earth and crossed it, thus breaking the only law of Olofin. The child, extremely amazed by the sky, began to make endless pranks throughout the kingdom. He made jokes to the other Orishas, mocked them, destroyed their homes, and stole their goods. The cries of anger in the sky were not long in coming, and they angrily chased after the little human to reprimand him. Hearing the great uproar, Olofin came out of his temple and looked for the cause of the noise. When he looked up, he saw in the distance a tiny creature scurrying around paradise. He fixed his sight and realized that the infant was the son of the couple he had received some time ago in his temple. So when he saw that his designs were interrupted, he got angry. He immediately returned the naughty and disrespectful boy to his parents, then took his powerful and great staff and whipped him with enormous force against the earth, causing a great roar from beyond the grave throughout the world, thus separating heaven from the earth. Since then, humans could no longer visit heaven with ease. Because of the spoiled creature, everyone had lost the privilege of accessing the kingdom of heaven. Something that they could do without any problem, since for hundreds of years humans traveled from earth to heaven without any obstacle, and thus, since that day, no human could enter the kingdom of the Orishas.